Well, praise the Lord. It's good to be in church tonight. For some of us, it's good to be in church tonight. For others of us are still deciding. Well, we'll know in about 15 minutes or so. It is good to see everybody's sweet, smiling face. Everybody just so full of the joy of the Lord. Or something. The book of Matthew, the 7th chapter, and the 24th verse. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man who built his house upon a rock. The rain descended, the floods came, the winds blew and beat upon the house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. I want to talk for a few minutes tonight. I'm just going to teach just a Bible class. I want to talk about the sand, and you can be seated. We have come to the end of the longest recorded teaching of Jesus in the Bible. This is his longest. The book of John has a long teaching of Jesus to his disciples, but this is the longest public teaching of Jesus, and it starts with the Beatitudes, the blessed are's that we really don't agree with as much as we should. And it ends with this parable about two men that each built themselves a house. So there are some similarities between the men and their houses. The first one is that the storm comes to both houses. It didn't matter that one of them built his house upon the rock and the other built his house upon the sand. The storm came to both houses. The foundation doesn't change the storm. A walk with God does not guarantee you a storm-free existence. It would be nice. It would be nice if I could live good enough and God could be pleased enough with me that I would never have a flat tire. And I would never, you know what, I wouldn't even ever have to put gas in my car. I'd just get in there and crank it up and the Lord would just I'm going to tell a funny story, and then I'm going to move on, because this is a funny story about my wife's family. My mother-in-law, when she had 4 kids, and she was trying to go to church and trying to do everything that was right and all that, and she was struggling. She was working 2 or 3 jobs, and it was bad. Times were tight, and sometimes she would come in late at night from her last job, and she would pull in the driveway just coasting on fumes. And she'd turn that car off, and she'd lay her hand on the dashboard, and she'd say, God, you know I'm doing everything that I can do. God, I'm living right. I'm giving. I'm paying my tithes. I'm doing everything that I know to do to be right. I need gas in this car. And she'd go back out the next morning. She'd crank that car up. Sometimes it'd be half a tank. Sometimes it'd be a full tank of gas. God would provide. And she testified about God's provision for years. Until her youngest son said, Mama, you know our house backed up to the bus barn. So when I needed gas in the car, we'd go siphon gas out of the school buses. Sometimes God uses the devil to provide. But just because you're doing right don't mean you're never going to have to put gas in your car. Just because you're doing right don't mean you're not going to have bills to pay. Just because you're doing right doesn't mean that bad things aren't going to happen. The storm comes to both houses. Good things and bad things, and good times and bad times, they are not indicators of the approval of God. It is a dangerous thing when you start equating blessings with God's approval. Because there are some devils that get blessed. We measure our walk with God based on our feelings. We measure our walk with God based on how good we feel about things. But the storm is coming to both houses. It's coming to the faithful and it's coming to the unfaithful. The wise and the foolish, the good and the bad, the one built on the rock, the one built on the sand. The storm is coming to everybody. Both houses face a storm. Secondly, both men listen. There is no difference in their attitude on receiving the instruction. They both hear the word. They both intend to do the word. They both understand the words. How often do we come to church and hear and understand? I mean, we understand the words that are said. But Monday rolls around. Monday's different than Sunday. I mean, Sunday, you're in here with the people of the Lord, and you get goosebumps, and everybody loves each other. Well, most people love each other, and everybody's happy and smiling and in a good mood, and everything's just fantastic. And Monday, you got devils at your job, and you can't poke them in the eye. You get in trouble. So Monday comes and the storm comes and you find out whether or not, the wise man hears and he does. When you hear what God says, when you hear instruction from God, the thing to do is do the thing that God said to do. It seems really simple. I mean, it's not complicated, right? But it's so hard for us to actually follow through with it most of the time. Jesus told Peter, walk on the water. And Peter said, all right, if he said that's what to do, that's what I'll do. Jesus told the leprous men, go and show yourself to the priest. Nothing happened. They wasn't healed. But if Jesus said to do it, that's what I'm going to do. Jesus told the servants at the wedding at Cana, take these pots of water and go give it to that really important guy over there and tell him it's wine. He'll believe you, trust me. And they just did the thing that God told them to do. Even things that seem impossible, we just do what God tells us to do. God is going to decide whether or not we are willing to take him at his word. This is what faith is. Faith is not hoping that the winning lottery ticket will fall out of somebody's briefcase and just flutter down onto your windshield of your car. If it does, praise the Lord. Pay your tithes. Devil's had that money long enough. Whatever justification you want to use, it don't matter. Just saying, pay your tithes. But that's not what faith is. Faith is just trusting God to be able to do the thing that God already said He was going to do. Faith is not mysterious. Brother Black talked about now faith. Faith just causes you to do something now. Because this is what God said to do, and this is what I'm going to do. It's not a great mystery. It's not way out there, esoteric stuff. It's just trusting God to keep His word. Faith is more about obedience than it is about wishing. The foolish man, the wise man hears and does. The foolish man hears and doesn't. Now, Jesus had spoken, if you read through the Sermon on the Mount, He had spoken some pretty pointed words. The Sermon on the Mount is pretty rough. It's challenging. Examine yourself. Don't judge other people. Don't hold other people to a standard that you don't hold yourself to. Sacrifice your abundance for those that are in needs, regardless of the reason for their need. If somebody asks you, you give to them. Love people that hate you. Do good for people that hate you. Do good for people that are actively conspiring against you. Don't just love them. It's easy to say you love somebody, right? Jesus says you have to do good things for them. You got to take an action to help somebody that's hurting you. We hear and we understand and we make excuses because my situation is different. Tell you what, if the Lord had known the people I got to deal with, He wouldn't have been talking like that. He can talk big and bad, but he don't work where I work. He don't have to talk to the people that I talk to. I'm not going to be a pushover. I'm going to stand my ground. I'm not going to let nobody walk all over me. They don't deserve my help. Nobody thinks they're building on the sand. Both men thought they had dug down to the rock. But one of them dug down to the point where he agreed, or where Jesus agreed with him. Nobody builds on the sand on purpose, and that's what makes this so troubling. There's a lot of work to be done to find out whether or not you're building on a rock. There's a lot of digging. There's a lot of excavating. There's a lot of getting me and my junk and my stuff and my pride out of the way before I find out whether or not I'm really building my life on a rock. I've got to dig to the point, or I tend to dig to the point where my pride is, and then I stop. I dig to the point where it gets a little bit uncomfortable. I dig to the point where me and Jesus start to disagree. Because all that stuff about blessed are the poor in spirit and all that. You know what? Yes, Lord. I'm so humble. Sometimes I surprise myself with how humble I really am. It shocks me sometimes when I think about it. But when my pride confronts me, when something happens and my spirit rises up and says, that ain't right, you're not going to treat me like that, I find out I may not be built on as much of the rock as I think I'm built on. My walk with God may not be quite as solid as I think it is. They didn't treat me right. They talk bad about me. I don't have to put up with that. They didn't brag on me enough. I worked hard and nobody cared. Not y'all. Nope, nobody. I don't know about nobody here. This is for the people watching online only. So y'all will know that when they see it, you tell them, boy, y'all should have been there. He got y'all. There are things that Jesus says that I don't have any problem with. He says, don't stand on the street corners and pray out loud so everybody can hear you and you can sound very holy. Okay. That's not in my personality to do anyway. And I'll build a whole house on that foundation because Jesus agrees with me. But do good to those that hate you. Well, pray for those that despitefully use you. Well, now see, that's not so much in my personality profile. I'm not one of whatever those personality types are. I'm a Copeland. Copelands are Olympic level grudge holders. I mean, my grandmother could tell you about stuff that happened in the 40s that she was still mad about. I have a pot or a cast iron skillet at my house that the handle broke off of, and it dropped on the floor while she was trying to bring eggs to her little brother when she was about 8 years old, and it dropped and it got that hot grease on her legs, and she still did not forgive her mother for buying that stupid cast iron skillet with that broken handle. I'll find out. I may not be built quite as much on the rock as I think I am. Do good. Find a reason. Sometimes when you get up here, it's just fun. Find a reason to do something nice for that person that you would rather put a thumb in their eye. Not your wife. No. I saw y'all. Do good things for people. Pray for people that misuse you. We spend our time and our energy finding things that me and the Lord agree on and negotiating common ground. God doesn't need a committee. God needs obedience. It is an easy thing to point out the hypocrisy in the lives of other people. I heard a guy say one time, and it's one of my favorite sayings, everybody thinks their own crooked line is straight. Everybody's got to measure up to my crooked line because I'm the only one that has the real standard. Jesus demands for us to examine ourselves, to look at the foundation that we're building on. If I don't get to the Word, if I let something interfere, if I let my pride and my grudge and my hurt and my bitterness and my pain and my problem, if I let any of that interfere with the building of my house, the storm is going to expose the foundation. It did not keep the foundation. The foundation didn't keep the storm from coming. But it did determine what was left when the storm was over. When the floods came and the winds blew and the problems came against the wise man, the house did not fall. But the house that was built on the sand, not only does it fall, but it can damage the houses around it. Because you will very seldom fall alone. Most of the time, there's somebody else that's going to get caught up in your faulty foundation. The instructions are complete. It is not enough for us to hear the words of God. We have to do them. Could you stand with me? I am 21 minutes, so that ought to make everybody very happy. Are you willing to be inconvenienced? Are you willing to get your feelings hurt? Are you willing to put up with people that don't understand? Are you willing to put up with people that are mean to you? Because you're going to have to. God will make sure that the storm comes your way. He doesn't do it because He needs to know. He does it because you need to know. The trying of your faith worketh patience. The testing of your faith, the testing of your foundation, if it's never tested, you can't trust it. If we stop short of doing everything, the storm comes and we're exposed. We can make excuses. We're good at making excuses. We're good at justifying. I'm good at justifying putting off what I don't want to face. I'm good at justifying why my situation is different. I'm good at explaining to everybody why that stuff really don't apply to me. But the storm's coming. The testing's coming. And it's going to matter. I would invite us to this evening, if you would, just to gather in for a couple of minutes and ask God to show you. Ask God to reveal to you that foundation. God, I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not intentionally building on sand on purpose. I'm not intentionally avoiding on purpose. But sometimes there's some stuff that I have to get out of the way to let God do the work that He wants to do. Could you lift your hands with me and just ask God to examine us tonight?